one shot at a time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast. As always, we want to thank you guys, the listeners, for joining us. Isaiah still moving into his apartment and getting his schedule figured out, so he's MIA again this week. But we got Dante in the house, and we're ready to recap some Arnold Palmer Invitational because, boy, what a weekend. What a week, in general that was.
It was. But before we get into that, I gotta get this off my chest. I did send the putter finally to Isaiah, if those were ever wondering. After Steve was busting my balls about that one.
We should have taken bets over under if you were ever going to give it away, because I think some podcast listeners, when they were chiming in on our last podcast were with Steve, were pretty much saying Dante's never giving that thing up. He's going to switch to lefty. He's going left hand low, and he's just going to rock the lefty putter. And Isaiah is just going to constantly be wondering where his S-dot putter goes.
Well, I mean, I did reach out to him, and luckily he did say he totally forgot about it since he's been so busy with the move and everything. So that was a little kind of less pressure off my back here.
You caught the man at a good time.
I did because I was sitting on my wall. It took me maybe a few days to put the head cover onto the putter head. And then it took me a few days to finally get the box out of my closet. And then it took me another couple of days to actually put the putter into the box, tape it up, and actually take it to the post office.
So for anyone who orders things from our website, I just want to let you know Dante does not do our merchandise movement. So you actually will get things on time, and it will not take 5 weeks for you to get your merchandise from www.enjoythewalk.store.
Yeah.
So, I'm super happy he's finally going to actually be able to put his hands on that S-dot putter. Because as we talked about last week, man, S-dot, Steve over there with S-dot just does some amazing work. But back to Arnold Palmer Invitational.
It's always a great one.
As always, highly contested coming down the stretch. People making double bogeys out of everywhere. There wasn't a hole in that course this week that was not prone to double bogeys. I don't know if it was the weather being whipping winds or you have it, but it was just awesome to see. It was major championship-esque this weekend.
And that's something I like too, because we always talk about how we can get into it too, the distance report and how that plays. And these guys, they're hitting it too far, they're overpowering the courses, the scores are too low. Yet I enjoyed watching this because the weather did come into play, and it seemed like it was mostly wind. Correct me if I'm wrong. To me,
100%.
it seemed like it was pretty windy.
It was fun to see from the wind side of things, I think, because there were some holes that were so dead downwind. Guys actually they hit it so far that distance was a problem
for the longer hitters.
They couldn't hit a fairway. They couldn't find the fairway because they hit it so far. Rory hit one, I believe it was on 5 or 6, big dog leg right, where he hit such a hard cut. He hit it 358. It still had no chance at finding the fairway. It was so windy. The wind played such a big issue that the longer you hit it, it was actually way more of a struggle to find the fairway.
I actually saw that. Actually, it was that par 5-6 hole. It was actually a dog leg left. And they were going over the water. He cut it. So it was funny because most of the tournament that I watched was on Sunday, and I was actually at a bowling tournament during the day, which, come and think about it, I wish I was actually outside playing golf because the way I bowled was absolutely dog shit.
Side note, man, Northeastern United States got some beautiful weather this weekend.
Yeah, I swear every time.
Man.
Every time I sign up for this tournament, it's around this time, and it's always when that weather is turning, and you get that one weekend where it just spikes and it's completely gorgeous. Happens to me every year, but after today, I might not do it. I don't know. We'll see. But I was watching that because I looked at my playing partner, and I looked at him. I said, it was funny, cool, because we had a TV right above the lanes we were on. We had a TV, and the guy put the golf on, and my buddy Rob looked at me. He goes, "You asked them for this?" I was like, "No, but I'm glad that they did." So we had the tournament on, and we're sitting there watching it, and Rory comes up to that tee box, and I guess the wind was downwind, but off like coming off to the left of him a little
It was
bit.
crossing towards the water, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know, but all I know is I nudged him and I said, "Look at this." Rory was up and he was aiming so far left. And I said he's gonna cut this in, and he's going over the water, and he's gonna cut as much as the hole off as possible. Watch, he hits this cut, and you just watch this ball, and it hits the fairway or the fringe or the fringe or whatever, and then just takes this hard bounce, and then goes into. And basically, he had to hit a recovery shot after that. He actually ended up hitting it, making a double on the hole after hitting a 348-yard drive.
I mean, and here's where it speaks to, let the guys hit it that far, because it takes immense skill to hit it that far and keep it straight, or plan on these golf courses to cut or work the ball, a draw, a cut, to make these 340 some plus yard drives actually work on these courses. So, I mean, let the guys hit it far. It takes a stupid amount of skill.
Yeah,
But I mean,
agree. Sometimes now that you're making me think, you talk about the older balls, the more spinnier balls, the smaller club head that those used. I mean, even if you go back to the Persimmon Woods, they were able to work the ball a lot more. So to me, the equipment seems as if it's a lot harder to work the ball. Most of these balls are coming off, like the driver's just coming off with less spin, and it's just going dead straight. So if you take the equipment now and make them work the ball, it might actually be a lot more difficult. I mean, if anybody wants to, that's my opinion. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we love a good old fashioned debate. Dante's take right there. If you got to go back and rewind and listen to it again, interact with us on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts at Enjoy the Walk Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Hit us up. Let us know your thoughts. Email us enjoythewalk19@gmail if you have a serious opinion and want to come on the pod and talk about it. We'll have you on. We'll politely discuss things. But yeah,
that's what we're about. I mean, let's interact.
Yeah, we're a podcast after all. We're a podcast of the people. Yeah. We want to hear your opinions. So, I mean, getting to my opinion on this weekend as a Sunday down the stretch, there was a point there, and I mean, the announcers touched on it a little bit. Tyrrell Hatton is a gem of a professional golfer. They touched on it a little bit. He is so candid at his anger issues with himself, but no one else. If you meet him on the street, he's probably one of the nicest human beings you could ever meet. Very down to earth, very low key, just like wouldn't hurt a fly unless the fly's inside of him, because he's got demons inside, man. He's got demons.
He
admits to it. He will tell you, my biggest problem is I love blowing up on myself. Like, literally, I just love destroying myself after a bad shot.
Yeah, we would be best friends, because my buddy Dan texted me earlier today. He goes, "Oh, Hatton's in the lead. Let's see if he can compose himself, because he's a hothead like you." And I just started cracking up, and I told him it's actually passion rather being a hothead. But man, going back to him, and it was funny because I saw him at the BMW Championship when it was at Aronimink in Philly a few years ago, and he walked up to the tee, and I think he came off of a hole that it really pissed him off. And he's just standing there, and then he just has that mean mug face on him. And we were discussing this earlier off camera, but it was funny because my friend Brian actually brought it up to me as well, and it makes sense. He reminds me of the guy that you'll see at like a pub, and if a bar fight comes out, that's not the guy you want to start with a bar fight. It all reminds me from, he just seems like a hardworking, classy guy that, he grew up like in like reminds me of The Greatest Game Ever Played, where Harold Varner, and not Harold Varner, he's
yeah.
You get it. So, and his other buddy, was it Ted Ray?
Ted Ray.
They grew up in Jersey, and it shows them at downstairs at that pub, and then they're just hanging out with a bunch of just people, and then there's just bar fight scenes comes out. That's Tyrrell Hatton to me. But when they interview him, he's the nicest guy in the world, and
I couldn't
that's
agree
how I
more.
see it.
Like you said, he's one of those guys that is just so inner psycho that like would just break the bar stool over his own head and then fight you with like broken bar stool pieces.
I
Like,
mean,
shout out to Tyrrell Hatton and conquering those demons this weekend because it was evident coming down the stretch. He hits that ball in the water on, I think, 13 or 14, and starts having what you think is a mental breakdown. Im's like this infallible young rookie that's probably going to win 2 times in the season already, and then he makes double. So then all of a sudden, Hatton gives up the lead, and then Im comes back and just gives him the lead right again. And Leishman, who just seems like this big old bloke that just never wavers, kind of just makes a couple mistakes down the stretch. And all of a sudden, you got Hatton coming down the last hole. Probably, I think, one of the toughest finishing holes on the tour, especially in tough conditions like today.
especially where that pin is, and everything seems to float down to the
Oh,
water.
that thing is diabolical, man.
There's some famous videos of that one too. But no, I didn't see his blow up, so that's why I think I was missing some pieces when he was coming down the stretch. But the last couple of holes, just the shots that he was taking, just to put himself in the perfect position to end up getting the W and claiming the throne of that trophy. And do they still give him the red cardigan?
They
They
do.
still get the
Ever since 2016, since Palmer's passing, they gave it away. And now that to speak on who you think Tyrrell Hatton is, I don't know if you saw his post win interview, but he said, with all due respect to Palmer and the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the organization, the cardigan's going to go on a hanger tonight because there's going to be some celebrations.
nice.
Basically saying him and the boys are going back to the pub and they're getting hammered.
Yeah. Well, and another cool thing is he just came off a shoulder surgery, and they asked him. They said, "How'd you get through that?" He goes, and that's what a lot of what I think is really cool is our generation can really connect with these guys because they're our age now. And he said how he coped with this recovery.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I drank a lot of red wine and played a lot of Xbox. And
and that's what
that's my kind of guy,
man. He obviously, you said our generation. He was born in 1991, so he's right in our, wheelhouse of age range and stuff like that. And it's just these guys that are out there on tour now, man. They're becoming so relatable. They're not the old heads now. No offense to who I include in this next piece, but they're not the old heads like Freddie Couples or Vijay Singh or just guys that just are like the old golf mentality. These guys grew up playing Xbox and PlayStation. These guys grew up playing Call of Duty and Halo and, Nintendo 64 or whatever. These guys grew up doing what we grew up doing. And to the masses that I think is becoming the golf, fanship, the viewership is our generation. It's the, 20s to maybe even 40s, but even folks in their 40s kind of tasted a little bit of that realm.
I would say
I think it's
mid 30s,
Yeah.
mid to I would say 36, 37.
I might have stretched it by saying 40.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the guy I battle with at my course all the time, we butt heads because we're different generation gaps. And it's funny because we're somewhat close, but at the same time we're not on a growing up level, because they'll say stuff and I'll look at them clueless and they're like, oh my god, really? but that's the cool thing about the game too, is that you can share, the guys that we grew up watching we're now playing with on the pros aspect. I just think that's pretty much the coolest thing about golf in my opinion.
And I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not acting like this never has happened before in sports. It's a generational thing. The guys that grew up and were the same age as Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus when they were coming of age and doing their thing on tour, I'm sure related to them in a sense of what they were doing in their daily lives and their interviews and what they said they did on their off time and stuff. But we're getting to the point where our generation is in its prime of being professional golfers. Especially the guys like Colin Morikawa, Matt Wolff and Victor Hovland and those guys that are the really young group making headway out there.
That's more towards your age, but
hey, I'm not that young. I'm reasonably,
I'm looking at guys. My guys are Rory, Brooks, Ricky, all them. But yeah, it's cool to see.
I love it, man. It's really cool. And my last thing I want to touch on too, just on the candidness of Tyrrell Hatton and just how authentic he is and how just, he doesn't ever hold back. When he made that double, I don't know if, the tour caught it and if they definitely didn't say anything about it when it happened. But when he was making his final putt to round out that double, and it was actually the 11th hole, he gave a good old middle finger right back at the lake, just to be like, listen, I've not had enough of you already. We're not done having words.
That's great.
So yeah, it was cool to see him just battle. I think the things that every, common man golfer thinks about on every shot. There's definitely demons in that man's head, and I'm pumped to watch him. He's gained a fan in me for the rest of the season, bringing his, inner struggles to light. So loved seeing that. Props to Tyrrell Hatton in the win. Please pop more than enough bubbly for you and the mates to have a nice little hangover for your win at the Arnold Palmer this weekend.
One thing, how about the scoring? -4 to get it done?
Major championship venue this weekend, man. I'm telling you,
it.
Absolutely awesome. Now, and I've seen it before too. Or I shouldn't say I've seen it. We see it every year at the Arnold Palmer. No one really lights this place on fire. It's an absolute beast of a course. I think other than the Valspar that's got the snake pit, it's got kind of the most memorable finishing holes coming down the stretch that just people notoriously struggle with. But yeah, the weather combined with the greens being firmer than concrete, guys were landing. It was honestly like, it reminded me of seeing the President's Cup this year out at Royal Melbourne. It reminded me of that course a lot because of just how firm, fast, and tough it was playing. They caught multiple guys on mics saying, I can't hit it high enough for it to land soft enough. Like, I can't land it short enough to get it to stop at these pins. And I think as the week went on and the pins got tougher, the scoring obviously showed in that. Like, it was just a tough freaking golf course this week, and the 30-mile-an-hour consistent winds did not help that at all.
No. And even going back to Rory's blow up on the 6th hole par 5, he bombed it. So then he had to basically take a recovery shot. Then he ended up in the bunker, and he was pretty close. And that I thought his drive was even more smoked. But besides that, I'm watching him, and he's in the bunker, and he's not too far from the green. And he plays like this punch shot out of the bunker, in hopes, I guess, hit it low, but get enough spin on it. So once it hits, it'll kind of, check up a little bit and then roll to the hole. Man, that thing hit the green, like the middle of the green. The pin was all the way to the back. That thing rolled all the way off the green, kept going, and then rolled into what's now called the penalty area and landed next to a rock. He was not happy about that one.
It was nuts, man. It was a test unlike anything I think they've seen in a while at the Arnold Palmer. That course never gets that firm and that blustery. It was a weird kind of weather weekend for the Arnold Palmer. I'm looking here. Francesco Molinari, when he won it in 2019, was 12 under. And a lot of guys were chomping at the bit at 11, 9, 7 here. So, I mean, obviously last year it played a little easier. But it's just a great course. Like I said, I think before, there's just so many holes on that golf course that if you don't hit a good tee shot or a good approach shot, it's demanding on all levels. And it just makes for fun golf to watch, man. I almost burned a pizza tonight because the golf coverage was so good. I was glued to the TV watching the end of the Arnold Palmer. I left a pizza in for about 15 minutes too long. So
I can see that happening.
Yeah, the nice doughy pizza I planned on having turned into pepperoni chips. It is what it is. You win some, you lose some when you love the game of golf.
Heard that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was cool to watch. And one thing I want to touch on too here. I took some heat for this, I think, on my take for it on Twitter a little bit, and I'm gonna write a blog, so people stay tuned on the blog too. But I want your guys' opinion on it. I'm gonna rant a little bit on it, and then we're gonna get into our interview here with professional golfer Ethan Smith, downright grinder. If you guys don't follow him on Instagram, we'll get into where you can follow him. But great follow. But before we get into that, I want to touch on the Scott Piercy issue. And it's touchy for some people. I just want to let people know off the bat. I don't have a preference one way or the other in what you think on the issue. I'm just going to tell you my thoughts on where I think the media got it wrong. I think we live in a time of cancel culture that people cry wolf before knowing whatever happened. And I think so. To give people a background on the Scott Piercy issue and what I'm tagging or what I'm getting at, Scott Piercy posted a story on his Instagram, not even like an actual post describing it. It was a quick story of a meme, basically making light of the subject that presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg was dropping out of the race. Made some kind of, okay, so here's where they got it wrong. The media at large called it a slur, a homophobic slur. Well, that was just wrong. Every media headline grab was just wrong, I think, in calling it a slur. It was a joke. It was a meme. It was it wasn't even a slur. It said he pulled out from behind. He was behind the candidates in the polls. So it was technically a factual statement. It was just a little, funny gesture of a thing. And I see how it can be taken to heart because the LGBTQ community, obviously often gets slandered. And I'm never for any kind of slander towards any, group, whether it's civil rights activists, LGBTQ community activists. I'm not for slandering anyone of their beliefs. But we live in a culture where everyone posts memes as a joke. People know that memes are a joke and to not be taken seriously. So this whole thing blew up with Scott Piercy. The media at large made it sound like he was just downright bashing the gay community. And I think that's wrong. I think he posted a meme that was meant to be a joke. Most people took as a joke. One person got alarmed, sent it, or maybe it was someone within the media community that posted this. I think it was actually TMZ Sports that posted it originally as a huge problem, which, I mean, right there should throw freaking, red flags to everyone that, TMZ out of all people was the first person. The gossip magazine god per se was to be the first people to write on it. But they brought out this huge article. People made a big deal of it. And he actually lost sponsorships because of it, which I don't think is right at all. I don't think in any way, shape, or form over someone posting a 12-second meme meant to make people laugh, meant to make light of a situation, should ever be demanded that they lose people that are paying for their livelihood. I think it was just absurd. So yeah, I don't know. It was a point for me where I felt like I had to speak up in the opposite direction of what a momentous, it seemed like, push to basically people were crying for Piercy to be canceled from the tour, to be suspended from the tour, to lose his job. And I don't think anyone in light of, no article actually posted the meme that he posted or made reference to it. So there was no like, oh, hey, here's the slur that he used. People just kept calling it a slur and calling him a right-wing extremist. Like, come on, guys. Over a 12-second meme that I can guarantee you there was in the scale of actually being out of line was at a soft like 2 out of 10 of being out of line. I mean, I think as a community, we need to be better and actually stand up for A, people's freedom of speech, and B, have a laugh and move on and not take things to heart so much. Because come on, guys, I hate to get so serious, but man, when you're calling for a guy's job over something like this is absolutely ridiculous. And I'd love to hear our listeners' thoughts on it too, because I kind of got blasted on Twitter, good and bad. People agree with me, people disagree with me, but that's kind of at my end rant there. It is what it is, but I feel like as media, we need to stop being so hard on the getting people canceled for their opinions, because it can go both ways, and it's a slippery slope. The minute we start canceling people for their beliefs on the right is the minute we start canceling beliefs on the left, and it can go back and forth. And it's a scary, slippery slope that I don't think anyone wants to go down.
No, I'll agree with you on that one. And I'll also be honest, I didn't know what happened. I didn't really look into it. So I didn't really know. Kind of just saw something and saw some posts about it, didn't really dive into it, and just just moved along, went on to the next thing. But going off of that, I think more on the aspect of it, it's tough because you want to keep politics out of it.
Always. And as media, we try to so much, man.
You always want to keep politics out of it. Even off camera, even with your family, you want to keep that really kind of just, that's how friends become enemies. That's how family just doesn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
I've heard stories. But a lot of the thing is, I think the problem is media now, certain media outlets, they go for the headline grabs. But obviously that's also the industry.
It's a shame because it is, and it's like how people get paid, and I get it. It's 4 clicks, but come on. How low and degrading are you willing to go for clicks? And obviously TMZ, time and time again, has proved that they don't give a shit how low they go. They don't. And there's very reputable golf writers out there that are starting to stoop to that level. And it's scary because as media, like you said, we're supposed to keep politics out of it. Our own personal opinions are supposed to be out of it, other than what we do on the podcast. Like we podcast as our
I like the golf debates. The golf debates are the best.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
That's the thing.
And that's what we're about, really.
Yeah. We cover golf from a way of how we see it. And yes, personal opinions are always going to affect that. But you can't start canceling people who disagree with you. You just can't. Like, invite them in for a conversation and have them on and debate, talk about it. But at the end of the day, I know that, I mean, and we saw, you said, keep politics out of it, but we saw this past election. It was basically split 50-50. And it just goes to show, yeah, we're split 50-50. 50% of the time, I'm probably not going to agree with you on 100% of the issues. And that's what makes for great conversation. But I'm not trying to end your career because of it. My God. It dug to a whole new depth for me that I didn't think golf media was going to stoop to. And it brought up a conversation, and I'll get into this a little bit, and then we'll get into our interview. It brought in the conversation, the one guy that I'll leave him nameless for the sake of just not bringing more fire into this than there needs to be. But, he brought it up on Twitter. He's like, well, the men's golf side of things has never seen a gay man step onto the golf course. 2019, Tad Fujikawa came out as a gay man and was actually welcomed with open arms into the gay, he was welcomed with open arms into the golf community by everyone at large. And yes, we haven't had a, plethora of gay men come into the golf industry, but I know they're there, and it's not like we're lambasting them for their decisions. And he's like, well, the LPGA does a great job of it. So many LPGA professionals have come out as lesbians, and it's the PGA Tour that has the issue. I don't think there's an issue. I think they're there, and we welcome them. I think if you ask anyone in the golf industry, there's no animosity. There's no, detrimental repercussions if you come out as a gay individual. You're welcomed. It's a good place to be. The golf community, I've seen the golf community is so welcoming from a internet. Like there are so many nationalities that play the game. There are so many. We see it on this podcast. And it's why we do this. There's so many different individuals of different class, different ethnicity, different background, different upbringing that play this game. It's all inclusive. This game is amazing because of that reason. Don't tell me that this game is not inclusive. Yes, it once wasn't. I will admit that 100%. This game used to be very, very exclusive. And it's a past in this game in which we are very rapidly growing out of at a very high rate. This game is becoming more and more inclusive by the minute. It's evident. We're getting there as a game of golf.
For sure.
It ain't perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect. Still tons of ways to go. But I'm telling you right now, you cannot tell me that this game is not inclusive.
At the end of the day, you're all out there to play the same game. Game.
And if it's one thing,
like you said, that's what's great about it. I mean, no gender specific. No, it don't matter. I can play with anybody who I want. I can compete against anybody I want, and that's what's so great about it. It's the most, on an equality, I guess, standpoint, it's the most equal game out there,
especially on the amateur side of things. I mean, and we're starting to see, co-branded events between the European Tour and their men's and women's. We're seeing co-branded.
I want to see that so bad. I want to see.
We're seeing it at the amateur level too. We're seeing co-branded amateur level events.
This is what we discussed before. I mean, off cameras. I want to see the PGA. I want to see the LPGA. I want to see them play it. I want to see them play it. This is what I want to see. This is what I love. You're gonna have the two biggest professional backgrounds. You have PGA, LPGA. You're gonna play a tournament. You're gonna have an individual tournament on the men's side. You're gonna have an individual tournament on the women's side for the sole winner, and then you're just gonna randomly pair a man and a woman together, and they're gonna have a team collective score, like we call it in bowling. It's called all mystery doubles almost. Yeah. A buddy of mine, he walks around and it's like $5 to get in, and you just pick he's got like these marbles for bingo, like the bingo stuff, and you just pick out a number, he'll put your name down, and based on all the participants, once he has an equal amount, he'll just match up to the person that's next to you. Mm-hmm. You do that with like the PG and LPG. I think that would be so fun because you can learn so much from each person's game.
I love that. And you know what else that just like made me think of? Like, what if we did a Ryder Cup men's and women's U.S. men's and women's versus international men's and women's versus, European men's and women's? When that comes down to alternate shot and you got Lexi Thompson and Dustin Johnson on the same team, are you kidding me? Like, come on. That's much-watched TV.
And they play their respective tee boxes.
Exactly. See, now this is what I'm getting at. This game ain't perfect. The game is still growing. But I'm telling you right now, I will, on my last breath, stand out on a limb for this game and advocate for it, man. Like, it bugged me to no end that these were the articles getting written, because I felt like it's taking back the game of golf and the core values of this game of golf. We all need to lighten up a little bit, have a laugh, enjoy each other's company, and understand that the world just ain't as bad as what the media paints it out to be.
For real. And I think another thing is, like you were saying, that some outlets may be going down that road of the headline grabs and spinning it to where it may not be like any type of story that could be controversial, or like spinning it to make it seem like it was way worse than it really was. When we got into this, from my understanding and from what I see majority of the time, is we're all in this together and we're all pushing each other's brands. And I think that's what's the greatest part of it.
Yeah.
When you go down the road of trying to, because like, again, I don't know that story based stuff. I didn't really look into it. but just on a general standpoint, you don't want to go down the road of making it look way worse than it really is and trying to get clicks
I'm
and
telling you
headline
right now,
grabs.
there's a lot of people out there, and it takes more than one article to do it. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes your credibility is lost in one article. I think the ability to lose all credibility can happen in one article. You can get one article so bad that people are just not going to trust anything else you say. And I think it started to happen in that Scott Piercy incident. And I think some people realized it, some people didn't. Because some people saw them for face value, didn't actually look into what the photo that was, put out there on social media actually was. So they just took it at face value. They didn't know what the actual photo was or what it said, because no article actually referenced it, because they knew if they did, they'd be wrong. So I mean, it just it goes to prove, like, if you read something, do your due diligence, check it out, see actually what's behind it, because you might actually be surprised that what you're reading at face value is not the end all be all scenario. But that's all I'll get in, man. I love this game. I love everything that is about what goes on for a majority of the media in the golf industry. I love our peers. I love everyone that's in this industry, because there was a lot of our peers that were kind of, saying, hey, I saw the same thing you're talking about. Can we talk about this more? Because, like, I think you understand it the same way I do. And I think there's a lot being made of nothing here. But
And
I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm not trying to say that, some communities are more valued than others, because that's just not true. I just think, have a laugh. There was no slur. Move on with your day.
yeah, and I said this before. We're all one. It's one equal game. We're all in this together. And PGA, LPGA, let's get that tournament going, and we'll help set it up.
Yeah, if they don't do it, we will.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it for us this week, guys. Sorry for the long-winded rant. Something I felt like I had to, get out there for your opinions to hear, and just let you know, the Enjoy the Walks take on things, because I think that's what we do here is, let our opinions on the game of golf. But, even deeper than that is kind of get stories out there that maybe a lot of people only saw for face value, and we get a little more in depth with them. So that's what we're here for. If you guys want to interact with us, please send us your opinions, send us your thoughts. If you guys have some really good stuff, maybe we'll even bring you onto the show. So email us, enjoythewalk19@gmail.com. Or feel free to muck it up with us on Twitter. We always enjoy throwing out the 140 characters. So at Enjoy the Walk Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Always feel free to message us on either platform there. But without further ado, guys, we have an awesome, awesome guest for you this week. So, yeah, we'll get into it. So thanks for listening, and here's Ethan Smith. Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in this week. As always, I think we have a pretty special guest for you guys. And, this guy kind of caught our eye, not only on his flashy Instagram kind of avatar, very highlighter green, E. Smith Golf, with a really neat logo, which I think we'll get into a little later as well. But without further ado, I'd like to bring Ethan Smith onto the show, a professional golfer who's just an absolute grinder. I can't wait to get into that story. So, Ethan, thanks for joining us this week, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic, man. No, thanks again for joining us. And, tell people a little bit, where are you from exactly?
I'm from Oklahoma City. I was born here. I've been here all my life. So it's home. I mean, I've been able to travel, with my family and with golf and everything, but this is definitely what I'm used to.
For sure. Yeah, it's funny. I think Dante and I have talked about it too. Golf presents you with a really lot of neat opportunities to travel around the country. I know when I was in college, I had a really awesome opportunities to kind of go play in different tournaments that, were out of Northeastern United States, and got to go down south and a little bit out west as well. So that's awesome to hear that the Midwest is being represented pretty well. And I'd love to hear a little bit of your background, of your story. I follow your your Instagram page pretty closely, and you just from what I can see, an absolute nut for the game. So I'd love to hear how that kind of all got started.
Yeah. I got started in the game when I was 13 years old, and that's a little bit later than, compared to the people that I'm competing against. Sometimes I play with guys that have been playing since they were one, basically. I mean, that's kind of when they learned to grip the club or whatever, like a Tiger Woods story. But I played other sports growing up. I played soccer a little bit when I was young, and I got into skateboarding for probably 2 years, I would say. And that was just kind of my thing. And then my dad got me a set of golf clubs. I think it was a couple months before my 13th birthday, just, as a way to spend some time with him and my grandfather. And I remember playing on my 13th birthday. This was like maybe the second time I ever played. And I remember specific shots and just like the desire in my heart growing of like, man, I've just caught a huge bug. Like, I've got to play this game. I've got to master this. So that's kind of, how it started. And I got involved in some junior tournaments through Oklahoma, even some down in Texas a little bit. Started playing in high school with the school team, and also still, outside events with the junior tours and stuff like that. And it was just kind of this steady progression through high school. And then I was able to earn a spot on a college team. And it was just the same story of just kind of a steady progression every year. For me, it was never a process of deciding if I wanted to continue. Do I want to play in high school? Do I want to play in college? Do I want to play after college? It's just been 100% in, like, what do I need to do to get there? When can I start? How many hours do I need to put in? So, and after college, I mean, that's kind of how it's continued. It's just trying to do what it takes and keep moving. So
That's awesome. And, I think college golf has a funny way of, whether, it's at the Division III level, 2 level, or Division I level, it's got a funny way of making you or allowing you to commit to getting better. I feel like the college level with teammates and having, consistent amount of matches and everything, at least was a point for me as well. I had loved the game a lot, throughout the high school level, but when I got to college, it kind of dawned on me as well, like, man, this is something I could really see myself doing, all the time, not just as a sport, as something else. But so I'd love for you to touch on a little bit of that too. Where did you go to college, and at what level did you play, and what kind of experiences did you get within your college level of golf?
Yeah, so I ended up playing at Oklahoma Christian University, which is literally 10 minutes from my house here. And it was not my original plan. I kind of wanted to move out and go play somewhere further, or find a really big school to go to. But this was kind of the opportunity that came up, and ultimately, like, even though it was so close to home, I thought if I can get a spot on those 5 guys that travel to tournaments, then I'm not going to be in, feeling like I'm in my hometown all the time. So I was fine. Like, I was okay with that decision to go play there. And it turned out to be just like
that's
a world
awesome.
of experience. I mean, it was amazing. Like, it's now an NCAA Division II school. While I was being recruited, it was NAIA, but they were kind of in this transfer period. And so they have to like sit out of like the national championship and stuff. So my freshman year was the first eligible year that they were allowed to play the postseason. And we made it all the way to national championship. So I got to go. I was on the 5, thankfully. I mean, I still, looking back, it's amazing to me to just like soak in, all those memories of like getting to be a starting player as a freshman, going all the way to national championships. That was in Denver, Colorado. just at this amazing course. I think they play the Colorado Open or something like that on the Corn Ferry Tour. So it's just like this amazing course. And then, the next, really every year was different in playing in college, but it was just like so rich in experience as a player, growing, playing all these different courses, learning about myself and my game, and just trying to improve every year, like within competition and always with the goals of playing afterwards and kind of keeping it alive. So it was just always kind of like this long-term perspective on, this isn't it. I'm just, this is just part of the process of learning and getting better. So.
Sure. Now, was it like during college that you realized, like, man, I really want to look at playing this professionally, or was it even before then? When was it in your mind, like, not only, okay, I love the game and I want to do whatever I can in the game, but like, all right, I'm actually good enough to make a run at it. When did that really happen for you? And did you see yourself kind of switch to a mindset of, all right, like it doesn't have to just be a game now. Like I need to approach it as a job.
Yeah. I think a lot of that happened kind of in high school for me. I mean, when I first started playing, I was really serious. I mean, just right away, like I want to play every day. I want to practice really hard. It's not that I just want to go beat range balls. Like, I want to learn how to hit different shots. And it was just kind of this addiction. And so in high school, I'd say that's really when I felt like, okay, I mean, yes, I want to play professional because that looks cool, but I also think I can. Like, if I put in those hours, I think I'm good enough, and I think I can get good enough with the time, if I start now, kind of thing. And so even in high school, like, I was waking up at 5 or something like that. I mean, as a sophomore, I remember waking up at 5 and going to the Y before school to go train before classes. And so it was kind of like, even then, I mean,
Yeah,
I was a grinder. So.
that's awesome. No, I love that. And I wish Isaiah could have joined us this evening, because he's kind of got a similar story of just, he knew very early on. He's like, listen, I'm just going to give everything I got to go at it. And
Yeah.
I know, I remember stories of him. It's funny when you said the Y. We had a Y in our Gettysburg area that he used to go to all the time before, and now he was homeschooled, but he would go in the morning before he had to start his home classes, and the same deal. He was like, I am just devout to it. I'm devoted to, this goal, however long it takes.
Right.
So it's awesome to hear that there was just kind of that instant bug when you picked it up of just trying to get better at all costs.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like, I was practicing when I wasn't at the course, kind of thing. It's like, sitting in class, you're working on your swing or wondering, what kind of short game you need to make up, and that's going to make you better. So it's just been like mind consuming, and it's been a lifestyle for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
No. And I think that's the mentality that you need to have, and knowing that, you can make that a reality is when you're a sophomore in high school, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym to train, because the overall outcome that you want is going to be maybe years down the road, give or take.
Yeah.
To see yourself on that leaderboard of the PGA, or anything that you even want to do. Because there's times I remember being in high school, or you have other high schoolers, I mean, they're sleeping until, 10 a.m. to noon. I mean, you're putting it all out on the line. I mean, like blood, sweat, and tears. So just that's something special to have, and having a mentality at that young of an age, when you have kids just basically just, enjoying their high school days. As everybody says, that's like one of the part of their greatest times of their lives, to say, you know what, I'm going to step back rather than go out with like friends at night, because I know I need to get up the next morning in between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. to put the work in, because I have an ultimate outcome of where I need to be.
Right.
That just says a lot right there.
Now, speaking of that grind, you speak 4 a.m., 5 a.m., Dante. I think that gets me into the number one reason I think, Ethan, why I followed you to begin with, and just why I was so kind of like, I don't know. It was almost inspired myself to like realize like, damn, he's putting in the work. Like, all right, if he's putting in this much work and can do A, B, C, and D, I was like, okay, I can take a look at my own life. And I encourage people to go follow you at @esmith_golf at Instagram and just follow your stories. I mean, now you had just recently, kind of dropped one of your jobs to focus more on golf, but I
Yeah.
want you to take me through that like post college into the real world of really chasing it, but still working jobs to make ends meet. Take me through like what one of your daily schedules looked like at kind of the busiest time of like all of your jobs, kind of what they were and how they all came together.
Yeah. So post college, I had so during college and even in high school, I mean, I'd like mow some lawns and stuff to make money, chores, stuff like that. I mean, normal things, I imagine. And because I knew like after college, I knew professional golf is going to be expensive and it's going to be this demanding thing. And so I was never a big spender. So I kind of had, this savings accumulating. And so after college, started playing in these professional events, and that's where the money was coming from, is just kind of this war chest that I had. So for a while, I didn't have to get a job, and so I finished the season last year as my first season, kind of like I think it was in October, and I knew that I needed to work over the off season just to prepare for this coming year. And so I wanted to find some jobs that were flexible and something that I can still get out and practice a lot and train a lot, and not just totally give away my day. So I'm really thankful as I look back, even just over the last few months, because I kind of stumbled upon these jobs pretty quickly and they've worked out well. I mean, they have nothing to do with golf, but they they've been kind of opportunities to like learn about other things and
And
make
I
some.
hate to cut you off, but I think that's what makes it so great is like, people always talk about when they're looking to get in the fields of like, all right, I want to chase this really, really bad, or I want to do, people that get into YouTube content creating or want to do a YouTube channel or whatever it is. They always like, I feel like where people get hung up the most is they're like, well, I got to find it in my field, or I got to
Yeah,
make it relative to whatever I'm doing. And for like a lot of us in the golf industry, it's like, well, I got to find a golf job or this, that, the other thing. I think that's what makes your story so awesome is the jobs that you had to kind of, make your golf life possible were nowhere near anywhere golf related.
yeah, yeah. So like, I got the first one I got is at a law firm, and I still have that one. And this particular lawyer he's a great man. He works by himself, and he's trying to go paperless. And in his office, we've got like, I think it's about 30 years of paperwork that are, it's just filed along the walls and stuff. And so it's been, honestly, I don't have a lot of interest in law, but it's been interesting to learn the little that I have learned. But it's just kind of I'm just a handyman around his office, cleaning things, scanning paper all the time. And then I think it was probably a couple weeks later that I was still kind of applying for these little part-time jobs. And I thought, well, this law firm job is kind of in the evening, afternoonish time, a few days a week. So if I can find something super early and like work during the night a little bit, then that'll give me the time in the day to practice and to train still. And so I started looking for like some warehouse jobs, like part-time still over the night though. And I ended up finding this job for the FedEx warehouse in town, starting at 4 a.m. And so, I really didn't want to have like an ego about, well, it needs to be a job that is like this, or that I need to work with people like this or whatever. I was just like, hey, I need to find a job and make some money. So this one kind of, I felt like it kind of fell into my lap. And unfortunately, I think it was like November, the whole month of November and December are their what they call peak season. And so um, with the Christmas, the holidays and everything, we had to get there at 2 a.m. So that was like, for weeks after weeks, it was 2 a.m. start time. And at that point, I mean, basically I was working 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then I would practice. I would get home, eat some breakfast or something, and I would go practice then until 11:30, and then I would go back home and change clothes because I had to be at the law firm at 12:30. And then my training, like, it was a bit inconsistent, honestly, but sometimes I'd go to the gym right after the law firm, or sometimes I would fit it in. Uh, if we got off before 9 or something like that at the warehouse, then I would fit in training there, like right before practice. And so that's kind of that was the heaviest of schedules, when it was pretty much like from 2 a.m. to I was going to bed basically at 8 p.m. So I'd get off work at the law firm at 5:30. And so it was, just a full day. Like there was no time to slack off at all.
Yeah, that's just awesome, and I love the fact that like it's just a modge podge of different things to just make it work. And I think the one thing you said in there where it was really neat is like you said your training kind of varied. Like there was no set like, all right, it's this time, it has to be that time, because I think a lot of people get caught up in well, if I don't work out at 6 a.m. today, then I don't work out at all. Or I don't work out at 3 p.m. today, then I don't work out at all. Or,
Yeah.
It's like you got to take your little steps forward or your little progresses whenever you can. And I think that's another thing that I've realized with you is like a lot of your posts, and it's why I love your page, are just like raw, like, yeah, hey, I got 20 minutes in today. I worked on my takeaway. I didn't have to hit a whole bucket of balls to make progress. I worked on a feeling today real quick, all I had time for, but I worked on something. And that's what I really love about it is like, there's just, there's an insatiable need for like you to just consistently get better. It doesn't matter how little or how much, it's awesome to see that you're just constantly trying to get somewhere within the game. And I love
it. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, I totally value just kind of the day-to-day, even if it is like, 15, 20 minutes, if I just have no time, like I still want to get in there and get into a golf posture or feel the swing just so that I can feel that I did, like to feel that, yes, I put in a little bit of effort today and make it as deliberate as I can. And just to feel like I always think about trying to get 1% better every day. And so if I can just get one golf swing and think, thoroughly about that one swing or whatever, then it doesn't matter when it is during the day. It's just whenever I have that moment to do it, like I want to take advantage of that, because it's those little actions over a long period of time that can lead to the big results or like, the end outcome. So.
What's going on, guys? Hope you're enjoying this interview with Ethan Smith. He just talks about, getting through the day with the most efficient practice possible. And I want to talk about one of our sponsors, SlopeGrade. And I think they really allow you to do that through their product. SlopeGrade is the first and only wearable green reading system on the market right now that you can attach right to your belt buckle and instantaneously through either your iPhone or Apple Watch, and soon to come on all Samsung and Google products, you can get the slope reading of where you're standing immediately on the course. As you're playing in a practice round, you can get that information right away and really help you hone in on how you're reading the greens and the feel for your greens. So check out SlopeGrade at www.slopegrade.com. That's SLOPEGRAIDE.com. And when you get to checkout, enter Enjoy the Walk as a coupon code for a special product offer. So guys, check them out. SlopeGrade. Really appreciate everything they've done for us. And They're going to help you change your game for the better. Also want to give a huge shout out to our merchandise sponsor, Saltwater Swag MD. That's saltwater_swag_MD on Instagram. Check them out, guys. They do awesome vinyl products, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, whatever you want, polos, you name it, they can get it done for you. Also, Saltwater Swag does any kind of vinyl decals. So whatever you're looking for in the vinyl custom industry, look at Saltwater Swag for all of your products. They do everything we've asked for them and more. So check them out, Saltwater Swag. Now back to the show. I gotta ask you. So now, our podcast listeners are gonna either have to check out your Instagram page or check out our YouTube version of this. But you got some awesome blue specs on you, man. Are they a branding feature, or what made you decide to go that route? And is there anything behind the blue glasses you got?
I mean, there's really nothing behind them. I've always liked big, bold colors and sharp design and stuff like that. And I also, just having something that nobody else has really. I just kind of have I want to have something kind of unique. And so there's a local store, and pretty much all they sell, honestly, is everything is just super cool when you walk in there. And so I had to go with, bright metal blue. It was just as soon as I saw them, I was like, yeah, I mean,
those are the ones.
Yeah. I swear for the longest time, for a good period of time when I started following, I couldn't figure out whether those were real or they were a filter. Based on the angles that you had. I'm like, is that a filter? I was like, what's he doing? But no, that's cool. Yeah, that's that basically that's your brand right there. That's people are gonna know that's Ethan. He's got the blue glasses. Boom, that's his brand.
Yeah,
it's a smart move.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel though I need to get something that's neon yellow.
I was just gonna say there's everything on your brand other than the blue is neon yellow. You drive a neon yellow car. You just got a highlighter license plate, for Lord's sake. I think that's your move.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know who makes them now, though. I mean, I'll have to do some shopping, but I think it is the next move.
That's awesome. No, it's does that I gotta ask, does that transition onto the golf course? Do you like to have a little flair in your golf course apparel too, or are you more traditional when you get to the golf course?
That's an interesting question for right now, because I basically only wear the clothing that I have from college, because at this point I've grown out of whatever I was wearing in high school, and I didn't ever buy that many clothes throughout college. I just kind of wore the gear that we were getting for the team. And so that's still kind of all I have right now, because I'm not a sponsored athlete or anything getting clothing from anybody. So I'm kind of waiting for that time when I can go buy my own stuff,
sure.
With some extra money. And it'll definitely be, I like a more traditional style, stuff that's really classic, but I like bold designs and patterns and colors. So it'll kind of be my own style, I think.
Sweet. No, that's what we love. And I think there's so much room to be had in making, golf outfits fun. There's so much out there right now too. We got to see it a little bit when we were down in Orlando. But man, there's just so much opportunity to just wear your style, because it seems like each company is making something so unique and so kind of out there, because they're just trying to push the boundary of what you can wear on the golf course. It's going to be awesome to see, I think, the rest of 2020, what people come out with, but even, moving forward, people are pushing the boundaries. Adidas tried a no collar shirt kind of deal.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they come out with in the next 2 years of pushing the boundaries of what's, truly golf attire.
Right. Yeah. As the sport has become more athletic and athlete driven, I mean, it's really changed the face of golf. And so it will be really interesting just to see where it progresses to next with style and equipment and just kind of the overall feel for golf.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I notice a lot in Orlando too. Is like as you just said there with the athletic apparel. But what's neat is companies are pushing the boundary to saying, how can we take like a training dry fit shirt and put that with a collar on it, and
Yeah.
even with pants. I mean, the way that they're developing clothing for golfers is how they can keep the style-esque and keep the, I guess the original or the authentic look of from golf, but also
Right.
you can probably go play basketball in them because that's how athletic driven they are for the materials
Yeah.
that they're using that are being made. It's definitely interesting to see on that aspect. So I'm definitely I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, even up till now, it's been a serious change. People used to wear ties and, look like they were in a suit basically. But I'm kind of interested to see now where it will go because, like, kind of like he was saying with that collarless call or whatever, there's bound to be other ideas that we haven't even seen yet with collars or, I'm sure at some point maybe they'll let players wear shorts uh, on the tour. So it's
I'm
hard
almost
to,
interested to see, and like this is kind of where my mind's been going with it. I'm really thinking like now, granted, there's such like an old vibe to golf that I think it's going to take a really long time to transition, especially the pro
yeah,
ranks out of pants and a collared shirt. But I think we're moving like the tennis direction, like like tennis shorts or something athletic shorts wise, maybe I don't know, or maybe
yeah,
that material in pants or some like you said, Dante, just like the athletic, just vibe, like a gym vibe in all the materials. I think is where we're really headed. We saw it a little bit with the joggers, kind of like a year or two ago, with Ricky and a couple of those guys. I mean, uh, Eric Van Rooyen just guy top
yeah,
five last couple of weeks has been rocking the joggers. So, but they're still more of like a golf style jogger. They're not really like a
right. Well,
joggers jogger.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And speaking of the athletic side of things, we touched on it a bit. You like to try and at least get a day's work in. What does your workouts consist of, and do you focus on? Is it more like speed training, or what kind of stuff are you doing in the gym to really get yourself prepared when you step out on the golf course?
So I mean, I'm totally into fitness and workouts, and I think sometimes what I do would maybe not be considered golf workout, maybe like golf specific workouts. But part of that's just because I also feel like I have to kind of balance out my body in a way. I mean, I swing the golf club, hundreds of times pretty much every day. And so I know that that can take a toll on my body over time. So I try not, so if I'm also doing that movement in the gym, that's just more and more and more. So I try to balance it out. Um, but I also, I'm trying to get faster and I'm trying to get stronger. So like right now, I mean, I run at least once a week, I'm swimming once or twice a week. I'm using weights in some of the workouts. Some of them are just kind of a calisthenic driven, just body weight, push-ups, pull-ups, that kind of work. So I try to incorporate like a lot of different styles of training just to improve like my overall conditioning. But I also want to incorporate golf specific exercises or speed training, with weighted golf clubs and stuff like that. Just because I think training is like so important, but it needs to be well rounded and it needs to touch on all parts of the body and all aspects of training for strength or speed instead of just focusing on one thing and kind of wearing that out.
Oh, for
For sure. I
sure.
think like you said, so many people when they think of golf, they're like, "Oh, you play 18 holes. Like, how fit do you need to be?" But it's like from a professional golfer standpoint, like you said, you're swinging the club hundreds of times a day. You're
Yeah.
constantly practicing, and the durability of the body to withstand that much twisting, motion, firing, torque throughout a full session, day in and day out, it does wear on the body. So that's like where you really need to build up one, especially, you know, everyone always talks about the core. But I think a big part that people miss on is, you know, the back, you know, the legs to really get you through that. And there's so many kind of just, I feel like an all body workout is necessary every time you step in the gym as a golfer. Like you're not really, you know, weightlifters can maybe focus in on like muscle groups, and golfers can maybe do it a little bit, but I feel like the most effective, and maybe you can add on this or disagree, but the most effective workout is usually like an all body workout with some cardio for a golfer standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the golf swing is, you know, it's a full body movement. And so if you're cutting up your training and doing like, you know, this is a biceps day or something like that, then you can easily like start to throw your golf swing out of balance if you're training specific muscle groups on specific days or whatever. And so your golf swing can vary day to day, like way more than it should. So I think it's important, you know, just like you were saying, to have it as a whole body training, just so that you're balancing your body to make athletic movement like as a whole and as like a fluid movement, instead of a bunch of separate parts trying to figure out how to move together.
Yeah, no, the game of golf and the swing especially is an art form, I feel like, and everything has to move, you know, in its own direction at this, you know,
Yeah.
in unison to make it work. And that's the fun of it. And that's why it's such a tantalizing game at times, because just one little muscle in the wrong direction and you're struggling to find the center of the fairway or the center of the club face.
How many times do you see yourself in the gym? Because I know you were saying like there's different types of styles, and especially for golf, and like what Dalton was saying, is that something you want to kind of specifically do more full body rather than, you know, the good old bodybuilder routine where you're hitting maybe 5 to 6 days a week and you're just hitting one specific body part for, you know, 2 hours, maybe two and a half hours of just straight growth. How do you break that up? Are you like 3 or 4 days are you 5 to 6 days doing maybe, you know, weights and then cardio, or how's that go for you?
For me, kind of the regimen or the schedule that I'm working on right now is basically weights, swimming, calisthenic, swimming, weights, running. So that's kind of like the basic pattern. And, you know, week to week, it fluctuates a little bit with, you know, the jobs, or if I'm going to travel for a tournament, then that's definitely going to impact my schedule of training. And so I can't say that it's just like this set routine every week, but I'm trying to move some weight in the gym probably two times a week. And then I'm trying to incorporate things like running or swimming, you know, another couple times, and then maybe one workout. You know, I like with a calisthenic workout, I like that to be a lot about speed, just trying to move the body fast through those reps. And so, you know, maybe once a week with that. So that's kind of the balance of everything, how I like to work it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's there's something to be said about just like also trying new things in the gym too, and like not getting static and doing the same thing over and over again. Is there anything like, I mean, obviously, you know, people love to say like, well, what's your go-to like workout? You know, as cliche as that may be, do you have a thing that you kind of rely on that you're comfortable with doing a lot as far as like a movement, or is there something that you've recently tried to maybe just like go out of the box and say, you know, I haven't tested this yet, but like it's something that you've, you know, looked at or heard about in the fitness world that you've wanted to give a go?
Swimming kind of is that for me, because I haven't been swimming for a long time with my training, and I certainly wasn't swimming on a regular basis just for fun. And I just, you know, I read about it, and I have a friend that does some triathlons and stuff, and he was telling me about the benefits of swimming. it's such a full body thing, but it's also a cardio and there's no impact. And but I thought, okay, that's like, these are all good things. I think it could be beneficial for golf as well, just better athletic conditioning. And it has totally kicked my butt. Like, it is so hard. I mean, I can get in there and swim like one lap, and then I definitely need 3 minutes just to catch my breath, and then then I can do another one or something like that. And
Yeah, I can attest to that. If you're doing like an all-out sprint, especially a full length of like an Olympic-sized pool or whatever, man, even like the half distance pools. When we were in college, we did a little bit of swimming. We tried it. We obviously, as a whole golf team as a whole, went right back to the gym. We're like, okay, we'll run the treadmill. It's a hell of a lot easier than swimming. So yeah, I can attest to that, man. I did it a little bit. Haven't swam in ages, like in a pool doing laps like that. My Lord, yeah, it tests every ounce of your body, especially the cardio end of things.
I can agree on that one too. We actually, Dalton and I went to the same college, but we played different sports. So the sport I played was lacrosse, and we actually had this company come in. It was a 2-day thing, and it was a company, these guys, it was a team building exercise, and they were either or former Marines or former SEALs, one of the two. These guys were badass, and they whooped our ass. Oh man, it was tough. But the first day was all outside, and it was a lot of, fireman carries. We were just all carrying each other, doing all types of stuff. We were like lifting logs over our head and whatnot. But the second day we were there for about 3 hours, and it was in the pool. But we were swimming laps through the pool on not the full length. It was, the horizontal part of it. So basically only half the pool. And we were doing, I think, breaststroke, like the four simple strokes. And then afterwards we would, we'd swim across, and then we would do mountain climbers or crunches or push-ups or jumping jacks. And then then we would jump back in the pool. So I'll tell you what, swimming, I was sore in muscles I've never felt before.
Yeah.
It was a great learning experience. It was, after thinking about it, at first I hated my coach for having us do it, but looking back on it, it's definitely an experience to have, and it's definitely a story I'll carry with me through like the rest of life, just to explain what we went through. But if anybody is trying to swim, I'd go for it.
I mean, quick tangent on that too. Like, God, I mean, just to give total respect to people that actually swim like competitively for a living, because those guys, gals out there, you're freak athletes. I'm telling you it right now. You're freak athletes. It's impressive.
Yeah, like people that are in the Olympics, some of those long distance swims where I don't know exactly how many laps they're doing, but I can swim one lap, and I'm pretty proud of myself, to accomplish that thing and then take a breather for a minute. But, they're just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for half an hour. And it's like, dude, your heart is unreal.
It's crazy. And it just speaks to, like, I mean, it's great to be out of the box like that. Yet again, it's something that has nothing to do with golf. And, you see so many golf specific workouts where you're doing the twisting with, bands or whatever, or you're doing some sort of lunges or getting, like something related to the golf swing. And it's just another thing of like, you don't have to be doing things that are directly related to your end goal to get the preparation or the product end result that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I think it's always fun to see what else can maybe contribute to getting you to that, to that area of you're feeling good about progress you're making.
Yeah, for sure. And even just like, I even feel like, just learning new things can have such a strong impact on your one thing that you're interested in, or you can I find inspiration from so many other, things, like people, who are in art, or people who climb professionally, or like just other sports and other interests. Like I get a lot of inspiration from people who are trying to master their craft, whatever it is. It's not always golf that I'm just trying to get motivated by golfers and that kind of thing. So it's been cool to kind of branch out and like look for other things.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, and I'm really surprised, but pumped that you said climbing, because one of my favorite books to kind of always go back to and read is a real short book, but it's about the youngest kid to ever climb Mount Everest, and it's basically for me like it goes through all of his hardships and all the things, and actually it's written from the perspective of the kid that was climbing with the kid that made it to Mount Everest. So
Oh, okay.
he actually ended up being like 30 steps short of ever climbing Mount Everest. He like couldn't make it, but the moral of the story is of just the gratitude that he had for the person that actually made it, and the understanding of like that, two people can put in the same amount of hard work. They trained together for like 2 or 3 years prior, and you might end up just short. But, it goes on, and I think he wrote this as an adult. So he went on to climb it later in life is basically what it boils down to. And it's just really neat to see like other people's perspectives of however great these goals are in life, how they've attacked them. And I think it goes huge into people preparing for professional sports, or, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's just amazing to see other people's perspectives.
And Ethan, going off of what you just said, that actually kind of almost hit home too. I'm giving a shout out to my brother Gino, his band, Thomas and the Workmen. Go check them out. They're up and coming. They're all Columbus, Ohio guys. He lives out in Columbus now from his buddies. He went out to school out there. And like you were just saying, this is non-golf related. They just signed a, local record deal actually in Philly. So him and his buddies, they drove out last week. They got here last Saturday. And from Sunday all the way up until 5 a.m. this morning, they were in the studio. They they recorded 9 new songs. And they got there from about 10 a.m. and each day 10 a.m. and they were walking in the house around 5 a.m. And they did that from Sunday to all the way this morning. Slept in, got into the car, and then drove back to Columbus, Ohio. So it just shows. I mean, and this is their passion. So they said, screw it, we're gonna do this. We got this opportunity. They got this opportunity through some other friends, and they took advantage of it. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I don't see my brother too often. However, he came home. He was here for a full week. I saw him twice, just because our schedules are just so off, and it just goes off there, and that kind of just hit me home to where, look what he's doing. I'm gonna do that and try and one up him, because there's always that rivalry,
Yeah.
So screw you at the same, good for you, but screw you at the same time. I'm gonna one up you on that.
That little brotherly rivalry is always a little fuel to the fire, which, I mean, you can find it anywhere. And it's funny, you can just find it anywhere, I think is the end. I could go into a whole other tangent of all of that, but it's cool, like you said, to branch out and find new ways of inspiration, or new ways of like attacking a goal that you previously maybe just got stuck on, or it tends to be that you're not the only one struggling with what you think you were probably on your own struggling about. Someone else has probably been there, done that. As like insensitive as that sounds at face value, that we all go through a lot of similar things that we just don't recognize. It's like you said, it's just really cool to see that kind of ability to take things from other aspects of life and bring it back into golf. It's always fun. It's a crazy sport with a lot of ways to get into it, a lot of ways to practice, a lot of ways to get better. So what's the schedule look like for you moving forward now? You're officially done with the FedEx job, and is a busy 2020 season in store for you as far as competing?
Yes, I will be pretty busy. So I'm starting. I'll leave next week, actually, Sunday, for Louisiana, and I'll be playing on. It's something called the All Pro Tour. It's a pretty well developed mini tour, and that's kind of the primary tour that I'll be spending my time on and getting in the competitive rounds. There are a couple like small local tours that I use just as like ways to get feedback on my game as I prepare for a bigger event, just kind of like a warm up in a way. Um, and so, I kind of fill in the gaps with those, but I'll play pretty much, March through October again. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now as far as the schedule. Obviously, finances and, however, if I play super well and get invited to bigger stuff, then it can certainly change your schedule pretty fast. But so you never know exactly. I mean, I don't have everything written down permanent of this is what I'm going to do, but I have a pretty good idea, and it's going to be a pretty full year, and I'm still going to keep the job that I've got going now just on the side to make some money on the side, which is nice, but it'll keep me busy. That's for sure.
Oh, no doubt about that. I feel like the golf game, no matter if you have a job or you're doing it full time as a golfer, keeps you busy. There's no doubt about that. One thing you touched on, I think, is super cool. And if people don't know about it that listen to us, how I don't want to say easy because that's just the wrong word, but how quick a few hot weeks on tournaments can get you into some other events, whether it's on the mini tours with All Pro Tour, or I think there's another mini tour called the Swing Thought Tour. A lot of these mini tours, if you get hot and win one or two, have exemptions into Corn Ferry events or maybe even smaller events, play well there. And then, maybe you get temporary status. So for those people and, that don't really know about it, you can get hot and you can have some success and get yourself on, kind of graduated per se from a mini tour to a Corn Ferry event within the realm of like a month, if you're having a consistent hot month, which I feel like in the realm of professional sports is a really quick turnover of getting to a higher level like that.
Right. Yeah. And golf is special in that way, but also it's unique. Like, if you have a season going, your life can change with one good week, or like your whole perception on your year, like if it's going good or bad, it can change with one good week. And I even have a friend of mine who's well ahead of me in professional golf. He's been through the Corn Ferry, he's had his PGA card before. So, I mean, he's certainly played at a really high level, but the first time he kind of got the run and was able to make it up to the PGA, he can walk back through his tournaments and say that this one particular putt to make the cut by one shot, it was like this 25-foot putt down a slope. I mean, he remembers like it was yesterday kind of thing. He said that putt changed my life. Because like he makes that putt, he makes the cut, he makes enough money to get into this event, he plays well in that event. He gets an invite to this tournament. Next thing you know, he's on the Corn Ferry or whatever, and he wins, and he gets his PGA card, and it's like, whoa. I mean,
yeah, holy crap!
You just don't know when like that one little good thing is going to happen. That's going to spark, some serious momentum. So.
Yeah, I feel like in golf, especially over any other sport, it is a huge game of momentum, especially for the guys like yourself grinding, getting tour, status exemptions into different things. Momentum, especially when you get to, PGA Monday qualifiers or U.S. Open locals to sectionals to the U.S. Open, a slight turn of momentum in your favor can turn into a huge snowball effect and really get your confidence. Because I feel like at the end of the day too, competing in a tournament environment like that is all confidence. And once you see one putt drop for a win, even at the smallest of levels, it just has like a resonating feel on you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. And golf is so mental, even over other sports, that like it can have that much more of an impact if you're seeing the ball go in the hole or seeing your shots, track the target like you want them to. And your physical game, doesn't even matter as much anymore. Like if you're 100% in your mind about what you're doing, like nothing can stop you. I mean,
Yeah, commitment is everything at the end of the day. So, no, that's exciting. We're definitely looking forward to following along, through the 2020 season and seeing where you go, how you play, seeing your consistent grind. I know, where can people find you other than your Instagram page to maybe follow along with, your blogs, your journey and stuff like that?
yeah. So I'm trying to start separating my content a little bit. So Instagram, I mean, that's certainly kind of a home base for me. That's kind of where I'm just creating the most content and that touches on everything. But kind of as I move forward with this year, like, I'd like Instagram. It's still going to be home base, but I want it to be focused on kind of the day to day, the training and the practice and the mindsets and all of that. I am working on putting some content up on YouTube that'll be kind of like tournament to tournament, and it'll just be videos of just me talking like directly to the followers, sharing insight about the minutia details of I'm spending this much money at this tournament on these things, and just giving like being totally honest, totally transparent with all the inside about professional golf in that way. And then the blog, I mean, I need to get on a better pattern anyways with that, but I still
Preaching
want
to the
that,
choir there.
I still want that to be just talking about subjects that are in the golf world and talking about things about where the sport is going, where it's evolving to, but also as much as I can promote just honest content through that's kind of the whole goal, is just to be super real and kind of unedited. I just want it to be putting out raw content that's not trying to make it look like I live in a different world, but I just want to be like somebody that's pushing hard and inspiring to other people. Like even I find inspiration through other people outside of golf. I hope that somebody outside of golf looks at my story and thinks, man, that's inspiring. Look at that guy working hard or, not giving up. Let's apply those concepts to what I'm into over here. So that's kind of
it's evident. It's obvious. It's why I followed you. It's why, we had you on. You've been inspiring to me to kind of just see the grind and to see how hard you're working to make your dreams at least become an opportunity. They're not obviously fulfilled yet, but you're working towards it. You're at least putting in the effort to put yourself in the position to make those things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much. I mean, it's been super cool to be on here, but I really appreciate you guys following along and, giving me shout outs, and, hopefully all of this continues. It's been cool listening to the content you guys are putting out. I always enjoy hearing people talk about the world of golf and just all the pieces of it that don't get shown on Golf Channel or PGA broadcast. And
there's a funny story that it's like Instagram's the highlight reel, and I feel like you break that mentality because everything for you is raw. Everything for you is, hey, I'm up at 3:30 going to work at the warehouse and I'm fitting in a 20-minute practice session because that's all I got today. It's not pretty, but that's all I got today. And it's a constant reminder of here's what it actually takes. And it's not just the guys out there on tour that is professional golf. It's guys like you that are constantly grinding. And I don't mean to say this to diminish, but it's like you're one of hundreds and thousands of guys busting their tails to try and make professional golf a reality. But that's the best part about it, is there's so many guys out there that do the work. It's fun to see what you're promoting out there, of the hard work, the grind, the weight training, the work that is away from golf, that is just everything that goes into the lower level professional side of golf. And that's what we love talking about. That's what we love, getting the grinders on and getting their story out there. So thanks again, man. For our listeners, they can follow you at esmith_golf on Instagram. Link to his blog website is there, as he was talking about right there on Instagram. It's the bright highlighter yellow Instagram logo, so you can't miss it. But before we go, I got to ask you, your logo there, the E. Smith Golf logo. What made you come up with that? How'd you get that? I like it. It's different. It sticks out.
Yeah. So my mom is an interior decorator. She's worked in the design world for a long time, and that's just something that she's so good at and has like amazing talent in. And so she really helped me along with getting out this idea of the logo. I knew I wanted something that was bold, and something that looked, that had some sort of golf aspect to it. But that was honestly all that I didn't know how to like put that into a design or put that on paper. And so I give total credit to my mom for coming out with this idea and then, making it something that is marketable and that's super cool. I think it's really cool. I like how sharp it is, and
looking at it now.
Yeah. It's smooth. A couple golf clubs, a tee in an E pattern. Especially in the bright yellow. I think it just speaks to who you are, your mentality, and how you represent yourself. So no, I love it, man. And
thank you.
Just thanks again for taking the time out on this evening to join us. So looking forward to getting this out to the listeners. So thanks
Absolutely.
again, Ethan. And we'll definitely keep up with you in the summer and hopefully keep contact and maybe check back in with you as the summer progresses and you get into some tournament play.
We'll get like a midpoint.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, that's Ethan Smith, professional golfer, absolute grinder. And please go follow him on Instagram, follow his story. He's a great follow. And if you need any kind of inspiration to get your butt in gear and get the work done, he's a guy to follow. So as always, thank you for listening. You can find us at Enjoy the Walk Pod on Instagram. You can definitely interact with us on there. Tell us what you think about the shows. Feel free to email us with questions. We love talking to all of our listeners and getting their input on what, they think about the golf scene. So enjoythewalk19@gmail.com. Feel free to email us there. And as always, www.enjoythewalk.store for our latest merch. And you guys, we just released tees, t-shirts, golf tees, golf balls, logoed, we got microfiber towels back in stock. So guys, check us out.
Sir.
I really appreciate any and all the support we've got already. And we're really close to that 1K giveaway. So if you haven't entered, go enter that giveaway, please. It's an awesome deal with Cut Golf, Stinger Golf, and some of our own apparel. So without further ado, guys, that's the episode for this week. And as always, get out there, carry your clubs, and enjoy the walk.
Enjoy the walk.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.